spring, and we could hear the damp breeze rush through the trees right after it rained. Then it was summer, and the sun would evaporate the sparkling droplets on our skin after we splashed in the lake. We felt carefree in our cozy village. Autumn rolled in, and the air began to chill, but we had friends and family to gather around the fireplace. Then winter came. It was unbearable. When I walked through the forest, I could feel the cold biting into my skin. Hundreds of villagers were getting incurable chills. They could not be warmed up, no matter how much wood we burned. One bitter night, I finally managed to find the origin of all our problems. There's this towering oak in the forest near our village, and it can be seen above all the other trees. When I reached it at midnight under the full moon, it had shriveled up. Not like how a normal tree sheds its leaves for winter, but like someone or something had sucked all the life out of it and then set it on fire for good measure. Some say that the oak had been protecting us, but I disagree. It had only been delaying the inevitable. The curse had been released. When spring came back around, 600 villagers had perished. There were only 3 tragic survivors, and I was one of them. We should have been more prepared. On the first day of the last spring the villagers would get to live through, a warning appeared on the oak tree. There was a tattered note pinned there. The thin paper was torn and see-through, and the words were vividly printed. In bold block letters, it cautioned, "Once the oak dies, your lives are forfeit." Is my existence a fluke? What if the survivors were meant to die?
And then we're gonna bring you to a cabin in the woods.
Let's teleport.
Let me teleport. Okay. Can you go inside? And then you're gonna find a diary. Okay. So I know lots of people who are scared of being alone in the dark. I'm just scared that I'm not alone. My parents used to say that there's no such thing as monsters, but something in the cabin just feels off. I always feel like I'm being watched, but I'm one of the last cursed survivors. I should have been more careful. I thought I was attentive enough when I brought the bodies to the forest to my cabin. It was a perfect spot, but there's one problem. When my husband was alive, we did everything together, but I only had to dig the holes when it was over, and this time I didn't hide my tracks. The cabin is deep in the woods, and it's on the other side of the mountain. There's no way any survivors could have followed me. I took care of all of them. Maybe I'm going a little crazy from the isolation, but I don't think I'm alone out here. You know when it gets dark and you can't see anything, but then your eyes adjust and you see all the figures watching you? I usually don't have a problem with the figures because I know they're actually in my basement, but there's this one figure that looked a little too familiar. At first, I would talk to her about anything, and she was an amazing listener. The only thing that bothered me was when she started talking back. The little girl in the mirror just looked like myself when I was younger, but something better was off. Most days, I would see her playing in her room, but other days she would disappear and I would see her deserted room. One night, I was on the verge of falling asleep when I heard knocking coming from outside. I put on my glasses and grabbed my bat. The knocking got louder and louder to the point where I wasn't sure if my door could handle it. I looked out the window and all I could see was darkness. Who would be at my porch in the middle of the night? I opened the door and got my bat ready, but when I looked around, there was no one there. Maybe I was just hearing things or going crazy. I got back under the sheets and was about to fall asleep when I heard the knocking again. This time, I ran to the door, hoping to catch whoever it was, but I realized that the sound wasn't coming from the door. I looked back and I saw the silhouette of a little girl. It was a girl from inside the mirror. She looked terrifying, with her eyes practically glowing as they reflected the moonlight. She tapped the glass from within. I ignored her for days. She kept rambling on about everything in her life, and she was so annoying. I thought it was all in my head. How could a little girl come out of a mirror? How could she even be talking to me? I'm not sure, but now she's got a tool and she's starting to come out. I should have never talked to her. I knew there's something off about her, but it's too late now. The reason I ran to my cabin was because I wanted to hide somewhere far away where no one could find me. I had it all planned out. I didn't have any tracks to connect from my cabin to the yard or the village. I wanted to make sure that I could never be found, but the problem was I succeeded. And then this is the code that it's Morse code, so the player would have to figure it out. And it says help me, and then underneath it, it says basement. So Vincent's gonna bring you to the basement. Okay, so this is where she kept the bodies of the survivors she took care of. And then here.
And then to begin the game, there's
Like a message, I
a
guess.
message. So in a faraway place, there is an abandoned ghost village. There is a lush forest sitting beside it, but from the center of the canopy, there are dead branches reaching out, as if they were trying to get away. There were villagers, but they're gone now. However, there is a single survivor, the cure for the cursed village. Maybe one day the desolate houses will be filled with laughter once again. The survivor is lost, but there are clues leading to her location. Perhaps you can find her and bring her back.
And that's all.
Thank you
Thank
for
you.
listening.
Wow, that was so suspenseful. I love the backstory, and the whole world fits the story too. It's like suspenseful and kind of creepy, and it's like, yeah, there's like a creepy diary, you know, and the little girl. So I like it. Yeah, and great character development. Love the story. And the world is really cool too. Lots of detail in the house. I saw the rug. That looked really nice. Yeah. Any Joyce?
What's the name of this, if I missed it?
We don't think so. We didn't exactly come up with one yet.
We'll take suggestions.
Yeah, we'll take suggestions.
Take suggestions? Okay. If you so feel free to type in the chat what you think that this whole thing should be called. And while people are thinking about that, Triple V, a couple questions. Who designed this, and how did you guys input or guys separate the workload?
Okay, so Vincent built the world part of it, and then Vivian built the mutated tree. And then for the backstory, Vivian wrote it, but for the diary, I wrote it. So we kind of split the work like that.
Awesome. Vivian, I love the way that you explained the script as you were writing it.
Thank you.
Sebastian suggested very scary place with 3 V's. I'm assuming that's because it represents the 3 V's of the team. Do you like that suggestion?
Sure.
Okay. Vincent, how was it designing everything? Because it looks like you put a lot of work into it. How long did it take you to do this?
Took like 3 days, I think, because we had to do the story first.
Mm-hmm.
So you put and then I got started in the cabin first. Cabin was kind of hard because the roof was a bit weird, but overall, yeah, it was really fun making this.
It looks really fun, and it's super detailed too. I really like everything about it.